Hi Capricorn, thank you so much for checking out the channel. We are officially 4 months old. That's insane. Thank you so much for subscribing, for commenting, for liking. Please consider following me on Facebook and Instagram at claire.voyant.queen and Twitter at _Claire_voyant. I would greatly appreciate it. Please remember that I read energy in and around you. This could apply to you, yes, but this also could apply to your partner. It could apply to anyone. Take what resonates and leave what does not. Please also check out your other placements, such as your sun, your moon, your rising, and your Venus for more messages and more content. Thank you so much for watching. Hi Capricorn, welcome to your November 2020 love and relationship reading. Let's get started. Tell me about Capricorn. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Okay. Feels nice and shuffled. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Capricorn for November of 2020. Capricorn, Capricorn, Capricorn for November of 2020. Capricorn, Capricorn. Okay, these feel nice, these feel shuffled. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. We have children. Your love life is being affected by children. We have unrequited love. There's not enough attraction or chemistry to keep this relationship going. Last but not least, we have free yourself. It's time to take back control of your life. Interesting. 3 very different cards here, Capricorn. Again, we have children. Your love life is being affected by children. We have unrequited love. There's not enough attraction or chemistry to keep this relationship going. And we have free yourself. It's time to take back control of your life. It definitely feels like you are tied down to something. You know, you could be tied down to a partnership. You could be tied down to work. You could be tied down to school. You could be tied down to some sort of project that you're working on. It feels like you're being tied down, bonded to something. With this unrequited love card, I partially get that you could be being tied down to a connection or to a relationship. There's not enough attraction or chemistry to keep this relationship going. And the reason you could be tied down to this connection or to this relationship could be because of children, if you have children. Or this children card could be appearing because you're being tied down to this connection because essentially it's something from your childhood. It's some sort of past trauma from your childhood that is tying you down to this relationship that you feel bonded to. But let's pull some animal spirit cards. We'll kind of clarify what's already here, and we'll see what comes up. Okay. Tell me about Capricorn. Tell me about Capricorn. Capricorn for November of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn. Okay. Tell me about Capricorn for November 2020. Capricorn. Okay. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Capricorn, you are the oyster. Your partner is the tiger. In your emotional connection, we have the crocodile. Wow. I'll kind of do this. I really want to see unrequited love for some reason. Like, I'm really attracted to seeing the words unrequited love. So we are going to place this here on top of it. And then your physical connection, we have the zebra. Okay. So you have 2 fire elements and you have 2 water elements here. You know, one thing I would like to start off by saying is this is not the first time I've done your reading this month, Capricorn. This is actually the 3rd time. The first time I did your reading, did the whole thing, and the video was blurry. Second time I did your reading, did the whole thing, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I was connecting to you. It felt like what I was telling you just wasn't true. And so I didn't want to post it. And so this is the 3rd time I've done your reading now. And every single time, it's kind of felt very much like you've been in your power and you've been working very diligently and you've been attracting new love in, which has been really beautiful to see. But after doing the 2nd reading, it felt like you've been energetically closed off. Like energetically closed off to like not only me, like reading for your sign, or whoever is watching this, but it also feels like you've been energetically closed off to those around you, is what it feels like. And I feel like that's really what this oyster card is trying to reference, is you being energetically closed off, right? Inside is a pearl, right? And that pearl is literally emanating light out of this oyster. But the shell is almost keeping it together, right? It's preventing people from seeing the pearl. It's preventing people from experiencing the pearl's beauty, right? So the pearl, I feel like, is almost a representation of you in your power doing the damn thing. But I feel like the shell is almost a representation of you being closed off energetically to people, which is like what I keep feeling, right? And this free yourself card could be referencing that. It could be referencing free yourself. It's time to take back control of your life. And it could be encouraging you to open the shell, right? Open the shell and really allow people to see the beauty that's inside, right? Because I will say this again and again, it feels like you are at the top of your game. It feels like you're working very hard at work, at school, on a project. You know, and it feels like people are taking notice of that and feels like people are very attracted to that. This, to me, feels like a past connection. And it feels like this, to me, is the reason that you are unable to kind of free yourself, right? In terms of like what's to come. This reading feels like we're tackling the core of the issue finally, versus the past 2 readings, which have felt more like a very general, like subsurface kind of like reading. So let's start reading these cards with that perception in mind, and we will go from there. So we're going to start off with the oyster. Okay. Sometimes finding these cards is a pain in the ass. Ooh, I just saw it. Oyster. Okay, Capricorn, this is you. Patient, secret keeper, hiding inner treasures. The focus and determination of the oyster is unmatched. Anything an oyster personality puts their mind to, they can achieve with grace and charm, right? Which is you putting your mind to your work, your school, your projects, whatever you're doing right now, it's A++. They achieve with grace and charm. The only problem is oyster types often take their inner gifts for granted. They become shy or doubtful, and this can lead to withdrawing or protecting their deepest desires and life's work. When the oyster card appears, it's important to reveal your inner treasures. What is it you've been hesitant to share? The world is waiting to see. I feel like we've already kind of tackled this card, so I'm really not going to repeat myself because I want to keep this reading moving. I want to keep you engaged here. So now we're going to go to your partner on the tiger. Boom, 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 boom. I love this tiger energy. Beautiful. Tiger, lunar force, ease in the darkness, feminine energy. The tiger hunts at night, at one with the silence, fearing nothing. This card reminds us to take in the wild darkness, to allow the lunar forces to soothe and heal our spirits. Sensuality, receptivity, and devotion are all heightened in the midnight hour, and the tiger takes advantage of these bonds. Spend some time in silence this evening, drinking in the potent calm. There is nothing to fear in the stillness except the awakening of your own power. I think this last line is really beautiful. There is nothing to fear in the stillness except the awakening of your own power. It almost feels like it's like referencing again this free yourself energy coming out of the shell, really exposing what's there. One thing that I'm already kind of noticing too, which is really interesting, is that we have two like cards, this tiger and this crocodile that I'll get to in a minute here, are almost two cards of like apex predators, right? When we think about their environments, we think about them as, you know, maybe with the exception of the lion, right? We think of like these like apex predators that hunt, right? They hunt. And so it does feel like there's almost a little bit of a predator-prey dynamic here, especially with the zebra card, right? The zebra card, I think of like lions and tigers, like hunting zebras, like that sort of thing. So there's kind of like a predator-prey dynamic. And even with the oyster, it feels like it's very protective, right? Very protective of like what's inside here. So this past partner could be like a predator-prey dynamic when it comes to how you view them. And that could be why this unrequited love card is coming up, in terms of there's not enough attraction or chemistry to keep this relationship going. But it does, I'll be honest, it does feel like someone's being watched. It does feel like someone's being stalked. Let's reread that tiger energy really quick. Right, the tiger hunts at night, at one with the silence, fearing nothing. Right? It almost feels like someone's being watched or stalked here. And I feel like you're very perceptive of that. I feel like you're very closed off to that, which is what I just have a hunch. Let's dive into this crocodile energy and your emotional connection. Okay. You know, this reading does feel like the past two readings that I've done for you, Capricorn, again, have felt very skimming the surface, like a very general reading, probably would appeal to a lot of people. But this feels very specific. And this feels like we're honestly tackling like the root of a bigger issue. It almost feels like it's a more specific reading than those general readings that I did. And it feels like it's almost like honing in on a couple of those cards, clarifying a couple of those cards. This reading is really important. I know that much. Crocodile. Resting, submerging, collecting energy, cooling off. The crocodile reminds us to step back from the external world and turn inward. Now is not the time for decisions, action, or discussion. The crocodile's mantra is wait. This doesn't mean lying around hoping life's challenges will disappear. The crocodile is much smarter than that. It means intentionally withdrawing, gathering our awareness, observing, and building energy. Fill up the vital resources so your next move comes from a place of wisdom and power. So that's interesting. It does feel like, you might be making the smart decision here, right? It says the crocodile is much smarter than that. It means intentionally withdrawing, just like the oyster. Gathering our awareness, observing and building energy, just like the tiger, like hunting, right? Just like the tiger stalking, right? It feels like this crocodile energy is the emotional connection between you, which is very much almost like a watching, awaiting, a watching, awaiting. You know what I mean? It feels like whoever this is, it feels incredibly magnetic. Like you are watching each other's every move, every move. They're showing me too, if you've ever seen like Animal Planet or like National Geographic or like something of that, like, like the iconic scene of like a lion or a tiger on a savanna, and there's a gazelle there, and there's a brief moment, like a brief second of the tiger watching the gazelle and the gazelle watching the tiger. And there's like this intimate connection there before all of the action starts taking place, right? And so it feels like this could be that moment. It feels like it could be that like intense connection before something big happens, right? It feels crazy intense, like in that sort of magnetic context. Let's dive into this zebra energy in your physical connection, and we will pull some tarot. Okay. Zebra. Eccentric, creative, visionary. Zebras are the most precious of gems. They are young at heart, well-cultured, and have an undying curiosity about life. Being in the company of a zebra personality not only is a delight, but also opens our minds. Be prepared. Their potent magic is contagious, and you may soon find yourself in a faraway land, expanding your worldview while having a blast. Zebras also like to contribute to the global health through environmental or volunteer work. This card may be a hint to pack your bags. There could be something involving travel here. Travel is kind of coming through very strongly. One party moving away from another party. Or like this card really could be indicating like movement. Like there's a lot of movement in this connection, but there's still almost like, now they're showing me again another scene from National Geographic, and they're showing me sharks. Essentially how like sharks do the whole like spinning nature, like they kind of spin, and they're showing me like the top of the fin, like just above the surface of the water, like breaking the waves and kind of like spinning and stalking. This feels very, I have to be honest, this feels very uncomfortable. It feels very uncomfortable. And this could be an indication for, I feel like I'm getting travel, like almost like you traveling away to get away from this person, or like something like this. This does not feel healthy. It does not feel healthy. Whew. It feels very, very heavy. I'm going to pull some tarot, and we're going to kind of clarify what's already on the board here. Yeah, it's interesting that, like, again, like talking about all of these predator cards, right? We had the tiger and we had the crocodile, but I was also shown like the lion. I was also shown the shark. They all feel like very predatory animals. which like does not feel good, right? And I feel like that's why you're in your shell. Capricorn, I feel like that's why you're in your shell. You're protecting. Tell me about Capricorn. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn for November 2020. Okay, these feel nice and shuffled. Couple more. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. Capricorn for November of 2020. Capricorn. Okay. Tell me about Capricorn for November of 2020. November of 2020. Capricorn, in your current situation, we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. What is wild to me is that when I just did your past reading, Five of Pentacles upright came in your current position. And now in this reading, we have Five of Pentacles in reverse in your current position. The chances of that happening are pretty mind-blowing to me. In your partner's current situation, we have the Six of Wands. You could be dealing with a Leo. I know that Six of Wands is very Leo energy, and with the fact that I saw a lion earlier, it could be very reminiscent of Leo as well. In this past connection, we have the Empress. Beautiful. Again, in the goddamn Capricorn, in the past reading that I just did, we had the Emperor. So in the past reading, we had the Five of Pentacles and the Emperor. And now we have the Five of Pentacles and the Empress. In the current connection, we have the Knight of Cups. Very beautiful. And then in the future connection, we have the Nine of Wands in reverse. Okay. So we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse, right? This is an energy of like, this is the imagery of a beautiful like stained glass window, probably from a church, with Five Pentacles etched in. And it's snowing, and it is bitter, bitter cold. And we have two people that look like they could be homeless, essentially outside. And it's a card of neglect. Essentially, it's a card of commonly referred to literally being kept out in the cold. When it's in reverse, it's essentially thought of as kind of coming into the warmth, right? Like if we were out in the cold, now we're coming into the warmth of the church, right? We're less drawn to these homeless people up here, but we're more drawn to the window, right? We're more drawn to the beautiful warm colors of the window versus these a little bit colder, desaturated colors of what they're wearing, right? So I feel like this could go either way for you. I think it's especially interesting that this card came out in the exact same position in the last reading that I just did for you. And so for it to appear in reverse now and upright then kind of suggests to me that it could go either way. So take that as you will. I have a hunch that you are keeping someone at a distance, you are neglecting someone, you are keeping someone out in the cold, is how it feels to me. And I feel like it might be this person. It might be this person who's essentially watching and waiting is what it feels like. Over here, we have the Six of Wands, right? Six of Wands upright. And this is a card of coming right after the Five of Wands. This is a card of victory, of success, right? Of triumph. We see all of these horses that are like in their beautiful regalia. We see all of these people riding these horses. We see all these wands kind of raised to the sky in celebration. We see all these wreaths. So it's a card really of victory, of success, right? Of like, it's a card of winning. It's a card of winning. Feels like a win. What I'm also being told too is that maybe this could apply to two different groups of Capricorns. But it could be suggesting that, you know, with this card originally appearing upright and now appearing in reverse, and that kind of means it could kind of float either way. You could be actively choosing to give this person attention, or you could be actively choosing to invite them back in. And that could be perceived as a win for them, right? That could be perceived as, you know, now the door's open, I'm allowed in into whatever this connection is. But I just would be cautious. I would be very cautious. Over here, we have the Empress. And like I said before, in the past reading that I did for you, we had the Emperor. And so the Empress is the Divine Mother. The Emperor is the Divine Father. Together, it's definitely some sort of karmic connection, some sort of soulmate connection, a soul tie. You're very energetically bonded. And the Empress is indicative of Libra energy or Taurus energy. So you could have a Libra or Taurus placement. Your partner could have a Libra or Taurus placement. But essentially, it's all about the harvest, right? Look at all these beautiful crops and beautiful vegetation that are growing. We even have a beautiful river in the background. There's even strawberries dotted all over her robe, which is so pretty. And so essentially it's a card of like, of motherhood. It's a card of like, fertility. It's a card, fertility is really interesting too. We have children on the board. You might be pregnant, or, there might be like something going on here with children, especially if we have the Empress here, which is the mother, right? That's coming through pretty strongly. But there might be something involving essentially like fertility and growth here, in terms of the past connection. It feels very beautiful. It also feels very like familial, if that's a word. It feels like you might have had a family with this person, right? Especially with like the mother appearing, the father appearing, children appearing. There's a family dynamic here, very much a family dynamic. And then in your present connection, we have the Knight of Cups, right? This could be this individual, or this could be a different person, but essentially the Knight of Cups is a romantic suitor, right? He's coming in. Keep in mind that knights never stay, they come and they go, but this is someone giving you an emotional offering, right? He's offering his cup, he's offering his emotions, and he's doing it in such a way that's very like statuesque and beautiful. I mean, look at the horse. Look how it's almost like propped up on one leg. Look how it's bowing its head. Look how like beautiful he looks in his armor. He's even smiling. He's like offering you his cup. Like, it's very beautiful. It's very romantic. Just keep in mind that it's kind of an in and out energy, right? This could be this person essentially coming in to offer you something emotional, and you like essentially inviting them back in from the cold after neglecting them from so long. And they could be perceiving that as a win. So be careful about that, because again, this is not very mature energy. This is energy that comes and goes, never stays. And then in your future outcome, right, we have the Nine of Rods in reverse. And to me, the Nine of Rods in reverse is very much like the one more once energy, the one more time energy. You know, it's not yet a 10, it's a 9. Sorry guys, my camera battery died. But again, we have the Nine of Rods, right? Nine of Rods suggests the one more once card, the one more hurdle card, the one more lap card, right? It's not yet a 10, it's a 9, not yet a 10. And so it's kind of like the one last push to get you across the finish line. And when it's in reverse, like even like the imagery, right? We see these 9 rods that are like firmly planted in the ground, and we see this man almost like he looks like he's been hit in the head. He looks like he's bruised. He looks like he's tired. It looks like he's been through a lot, just like energetically, right? And when this card is in reverse, it's almost like he just doesn't have the energy to keep going. He doesn't have the energy to finish, right? It's a card of like tapping out. It's a card of like, I can't do this anymore. It's a card of like almost like exhaustion, right? I feel like that's kind of like what comes down to it in the future. So pay attention here. This is a very, very interesting connection. It feels like you're karmically tied. It feels like you're energetically tied. It feels like you're watching each other, like you are intensely watching each other. And I feel like you are aware of that, which is why you are protecting yourself. The universe could be asking you to just maybe ease up on that a little bit. And essentially, by some of you have kept this person out in the cold, neglected this person, and some of you are essentially inviting this person back in. This is where I think this is going to differ for some of you. And I feel like if you're inviting them back in, it feels like this could be a win for this individual. Like the door is open. I finally can step inside. I can finally warm up. And it feels like they're offering you some sort of like emotional communication, some sort of emotional message. And it feels very pretty, and it feels like they're telling you what you want to hear, but be cautious of this. One thing that I should say is in your past reading, one of the romance angels cards that came up was pay attention to the red flags. And I kept coming back to that card over and over and over and over again. And I feel like paying attention to the red flags is very much a part of this reading. But Capricorn, thank you so much for checking out your November 2020 love and relationship reading. And I will see you in December. Adios.